So you are using vibrato and you are using it in your music and you're learning to be more comfortable with the movement. But do you know when not to use vibrato? In this video, I give you a few instances on when you should be careful about when to use vibrato. Hi, my name is Liz from Cellomoji.com and I help you learn to play the cello for all those moments in your life. I give tips and tricks on how you can play the cello as well as how you can learn many different types of music across many different genres. If this is something that is interesting to you, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you won't miss out on any other Cellomoji videos. So let's get into these instances of when not to use vibrato. So I know some people probably have questions on how do I vibrate? What is vibrato? What is that shaking thing that people are doing? And perhaps I'll make another video about that. There are so many videos out there that talk about vibrato, but I think there aren't very many talking about when not to use vibrato. And that is really important too, because think of vibrato a little bit like an accessory. It's like if you put a million bows in your hair, it seems a little bit excessive, and sometimes it actually just makes all the music sound all the same. When you are being really careful about when you add vibrato in and what kind of vibrato or what style of vibrato that you're doing, it really gives a special type of sound to your music. So I think it is important to talk about this. Okay, one very obvious instance of when not to use vibrato is when you are doing scales or when you're doing intonation work. Now, especially if you are learning how to do your scales, vibrato can often be used a little bit as a crutch of like, I'm gonna learn where this note is by vibrating it until it like hits the right spot. But it is really actually important and is the core essence of vibrato is that you really know where the right note is, and then you're doing vibrato around it to sort of enhance the note. So if you can't play something in tune, you should not be adding vibrato in. And this includes whether it's in scales or whether it is in your solo piece of work. Okay, some other instances where vibrato is not really helpful is shifting. So if you find that you're doing vibrato and then you are going for a harder note but it's like far away, you'll often see a lot of students do like vibrato here and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna shake until I find that note. Again, in this instance, you really have to practice the shift itself and not use vibrato as a crutch to help you find the note. It is really important you know exactly what your arm needs to do in order to find that note. There are some instances where having non-vibrato can actually make a passage of music sound really special. So be sure to just check out in the music, does it even say non-vibrato in it? It might say like song vibrato in it. Or sometimes, you know, in contemporary music, it is sometimes good just to have a non-vibrato sound because it kind of makes it this sort of like serene, calm feeling to the notes, or it could even sound suspenseful that way. So vibrato, again, remember you want to pick and choose exactly when, where, and how you're doing vibrato. So this next one's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, and I will say it's not like I'll never do it, but I will say it is like very, very few and far between. So what I'm talking about is there's people who find the note, they land on it, and then they start vibrating. And so it kind of gives this special effect of like you're being like starting in, then all of a sudden it just sort of blossoms. But it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine because like it kind of almost just re-emphasizes the note. I rather think it's a little bit more powerful to just like land on the note and start vibrating on it right away as opposed to having this delay. Now there are some dramatic moments where some people might think that might be okay, but oftentimes when you see it on one note, then they tend to do it on like 2, 3, 4 more consecutive notes, and then that just sounds, it just gets old after a while. So just make sure that, again, you're picking and choosing like when exactly you're doing that and you're in full control of that. If you can't land and vibrate right away, then that is something you should practice because again, you're just trying to add to your toolbox and have many different styles of vibrato. Okay, so alongside with that mention of styles of vibrato, it is good for you to think about, okay, what kind of vibrato do you have? Is it a super fast one? Is it a super slow one? Is it narrow? Is it wide? The answer should be you want all of that in your toolbox. It is really good to be able to control, like, how am I going to make my vibrato happen? Because then you'll know those moments when perhaps it's better not to have a vibrato. So I think it is really important for everybody to practice different speeds. This is something you can do with a metronome. This is something that you can just practice. Again, maybe not on a scale that you're trying to master, but say like you can take any easy scale that you have and practice like different speeds of vibrato on them. That way you're really honing your skill and your control so that you can be very specific about what kind of vibrato you want. Okay, so here is another situation where it may not just involve you, but it's when you're playing with others. So it's really important when you're playing in an ensemble that you are matching vibratos with your fellow musicians. It makes it really obvious that someone is doing a vibrato if like someone's going really, really crazy fast and the other people are just going medium speed to slow. It's important to have a unified group sound. So in order to do that, vibrato can really help add or take away from that. So again, the default is we want to have vibrato, but if it can't match somehow, just remember less is more. So again, you can consider situations of when not to have vibrato going so that you can have a more unified sound. So just keep in mind that I am not saying to never vibrate. That is obviously not the answer. I do think that vibrato can really add a special, beautiful sound to the music, but I do think it is something that once you start vibrating, that it is important that you really consider like what is going on, like why am I doing this? Things like when you're vibrating a passage and all of a sudden there's like one or two notes you just don't vibrate, those notes stick out. So it is really important now that you're adding it to your toolbox that you're being conscious of like why you're doing it, when you're doing it, and how you're doing it. So all I'm saying is just be careful when you have vibrato. Just remember, think of it as a little bit like an accessory. You don't want it like all the time and loads of it. You want just like a really nice choice of vibrato so that it can really add and enhance the music that you're playing. Question of the day, are there instances that you have been in where it was actually better to not use vibrato at all? List them in the comment box below. I would love to read them. If there are any questions about vibrato that I have not addressed, be sure to also leave those in the comment box below. I would love to help you out. Consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell next to it if you haven't already. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!